The race to replace the president is still extremely fluid on the Republican side. The field still may not be set, and one of those candidates already in is feeling some intense heat. Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel begins his report with an update on the primary calendar.
South Carolina Republicans are moving their primary date to January 21st to maintain their first in the South status after Florida decided last week to jump ahead of the traditional early voting states to January 31st. For that, the South Carolina Republican chairman says Florida deserves to lose its convention delegates.
49 out of 50 states played pretty in the sandbox, and one state really violated the rules to a great degree.
Over the weekend, Texas Governor Rick Perry took heat over a hunting camp in West Texas his family leased, a camp with the N-word in its name, which was painted on a rock. The Washington Post reported Perry and his father began hunting there in the early 1980s. The Perry campaign said the governor's family never owned, controlled, or managed the property, and he hasn't been there in 5 years. Presidential candidate Herman Cain offered this reaction on Fox News Sunday.
That isn't a more vile, negative word than the N-word, and for him to leave it there as long as he did before I hear that they finally painted over it, it's just plain insensitive to a lot of black people in this country.
Perry Communications Director Ray Sullivan agreed the word is insensitive and offensive, but said, quote, Mr. Cain is wrong about the Perry family's quick action to eliminate the word on the rock. Meanwhile, today, Michelle Bachmann's campaign released this web video, I Won't Settle, in which she apparently misspoke when discussing unemployment.
We see that our nation is on the ropes right now, on the ropes economically, with very high employment. Our housing values are down.
While the announced presidential candidates continue their campaigns, much of the buzz is about a governor still considering his options, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. This draft Chris Christie video and website were launched today with the goal of convincing the Garden State governor to get into the race. But a former Republican nominee offered this warning.
The swimming pool looks a lot better until you jump right in. The water may not be quite as warm as you think.
Fellow Governor Bob McDonnell of Virginia says whoever is going to get in needs to do it immediately and suggested Christie is feeling the pressure of the calendar to make a decision quickly. Brett?
Mike, thank you. Let's get more on Governor Christie from senior political analyst Britt Hume. Good evening, Britt.
Hi, Brett. Whether you want Chris Christie to run for president, you can understand why he's taking his time thinking about it. First of all, no Republican who believes he has a national future can simply spurn the advances of everyone from Nancy Reagan to Henry Kissinger to, we hear, George W. Bush. So despite his strong initial disposition against running, Christie had to tell such people he'd at least think about it. And thinking about it meant facing a couple of things. Being elected president is like winning the Super Bowl. The chance does not come along very often. And the presidency this time around looks as if it's there for the taking for the Republicans. Saying no means waiting at least 4 years and possibly 8 for another chance. And who knows whether the odds will again be as good. That adds up to a powerful case for making the race. It would not be the first time that a man from the Northeast with a strong record as a no-nonsense chief executive made a big splash in GOP presidential politics. The last one had, like Christie, turned things around in a tough place for a Republican to govern. He also had a blunt, even combative style. But like Christie, he had taken a set of liberal positions that in the end proved too much for a conservative party, and his candidacy failed. By now, you've probably figured out that I'm talking about Rudy Giuliani. The parallels are not perfect, but they are striking, and they are one more thing for Governor Christie to think about. Brett?
Britt, in that ABC interview, George